Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining Zoom to Miracles. Today, we are going to continue on with our forgiveness, taking some further lessons in A Course in Miracles to apply to the fear in our mind. But to start the group, with the group that we do here, we generally start each week with an extension of love, God's love. So I wanted to start the actual recording off, including this. So let's just start with feeling this love of God within us now. See if you can experience some different kind of love. This love has got nothing to do with bodies, with loving a dog or a cat or an animal or your partner. See if you can just simply experience a love within you that has nothing to do with anything in this world. And this is a really good practice to go within and find that love. That love is what you are. And that is God's love. And even if you're just getting a slight sense of it at the moment, if you continue to do this exercise, it will grow. You will start to feel the love of God within you starting to deepen or open or become vast. So just feel that love within you now. Sometimes, if it's helpful, you can just call God. You can just say either God, repeat God's name, Father, Creator, all that is, and feel that love within you, the experience within you deepening. Now I want you to take this love that you're feeling within you and feel like it's radiating out of you, extending out of you to everyone and everything, enveloping it. So you might like to see your parents, your children, your friends, your co-workers, anyone that you know. Feel it like something that's coming and giving them a blessing, enveloping them. Might be like a rainbow around them. You might like to give it a little bit of form a visualization of some kind of light form, just so you can feel that it's working for you. It's okay to give it some kind of shape or colour. But feel it's coming from you and it's going out. And it's blessing everyone. When I do this visualization, I see it as giving everyone like a little kiss on the cheek and saying you are loved. You might like to see yourself sprinkling little sparkles on everyone's eyes. Something to do with love just being extended naturally, which is the miracle. We're shifting away from an egoic love that is got contracts, right? The split part of our mind loves with conditions. This love doesn't ask anything back. Our job now is to just love everyone completely. Extend this love, whoever we meet. And it starts with connecting to the love within you. God's love, feeling it within you now. And then if you feel it extended to whoever you're with, the words or whatever actions you need to take will come forth from that love. And now I want you to see that love extending to your thoughts. You can use this as a forgiveness practice in all different ways. So if you are finding yourself caught up in fear thoughts, you can simply extend love to those thoughts, which is really, I can see peace instead of this. So that's our starting meditation. And it's really good to, even if you just got a holy instant or a few holy instants, this love within you will start to be the place you live in 24/7. It'll be this love, this infinite love, this eternal love, this vast love that has no boundaries. And that's where we want to be, because that is the peace of God. So to be in that state all the time, we have to trust and forgive. We have to do forgiveness. That's the way to have this all-encompassing love. We have to undo the blocks. And so our part here is not to attain anything in the world, not to try to get any goals, not to seek anything from the world. They still use the things that are practical, but not to have goals, not for idols. It's to undo grievances, to undo the past, to let go of the future. All these things come in to undo the ego part of our mind. And that is the ego. It's all those things. But essentially, what it is, in the end, you will notice after practicing forgiveness that it's a thought system that pretends to be you. But for me, that recognition came right at the end of doing lots of forgiveness. But that's what it is. So some of you might be at that stage where there's a sense that all those egoic thoughts are not your thoughts and make up an idea that there's a person. But if you're not at that stage, you need to continue doing forgiveness, how you're doing it. But awakening is guaranteed. It's guaranteed by God. It's part of the journey. You will awaken. There's no ifs or buts. We're all going to awaken. And we already are. But it just looks like we're not. So there's all these little paradoxes. So today we are going to continue with our with coming in with some lessons to address the idea of worry about money and survival. This is another week. We might do another week next week or something else. But so this week we're going to take parts of lesson 76. I'm under no laws but God's. And lesson 194. I place the future in the hands of God. So if we possibly won't be reading all of these lessons today. But I'd like you, if you're with this group and you're dedicating your week to the theme of the week, I would encourage you to focus on these two lessons. The reason why is that these two lessons were the most helpful to me, plus the one we did last week about trusting God. God is the strength in which I trust. And the reason that was the lesson for last week was we have to trust the strength of God within us. So I'm just going to read something from lesson 76. And Shannon and I were part of these workshops was to bring in things that helped us on our journey. So there's a paragraph in this lesson that I would continually go back to. I was guided to look at it and read it over and over. So if you have any fear about money, survival, housing, food, all those things, these are the go-to lessons. I think, look, you might have your own. These are really good lessons. So I am under no laws but God's. So in other words, here in this dream world that we think is real, we think we're under lots of laws of nutrition, laws of immunisation, of medication, of the body's protection in innumerable ways. And we think there's laws of friendship and good relationships, and especially reciprocity, which is where you think if I do something for someone, they should do something for me. We think these are the laws that we're under. So it can take quite a while reading this lesson to really understand that this goes in line with I am spirit. So if I'm not a body, what laws am I under? If I'm focusing as a body, I would seem to be under the laws of all these things. But he wants us to tell ourselves that these laws aren't the laws we're under. And this also comes, this week, it comes in under trust as well, because we have to trust that, so we don't have to give up the medicines and the nutrition. What we need to do is we need to develop a trust that 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 we will be helped wherever we are. And we need to really come to know ourselves as spirit, as mind, and not a body. So even though this is not all in this lesson, these are the lessons that go together. So the laws of the world that we think we're living in tell us that we need a lot of money. The egos get together and say that, you need money to get things. So in lesson, in paragraph 3, think of the freedom in the recognition that you are not bound by all the strange and twisted laws you have set up to save you. So all these ideas, like, have a think about now. After we've read this paragraph, I might get you to write down in your journal what you think are things that are going to save you. You really think that you would starve unless you had stacks of green paper strips and piles of metal discs. But this was the one line that I used to read over and over, because I did think I would starve if I didn't have them. I did. And I had to keep reading it and telling myself that Jesus is telling me that I wouldn't starve if I didn't have money. But even if I had no money, I wouldn't starve. So the ego in our mind tells us that we have to have money or we will starve. And of course, that starving is the fear of death. You really think a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death. I wasn't too caught up in that idea. That might be a bigger one for you than money. But the starving from having no money was the big ego fear in my mind. I didn't really, I used medication and other things, but I didn't have a really huge, or the ego didn't have a really huge belief about that. You really think you are alone unless another body is with you. I did kind of have, that is an egoic belief. And I did have some ideas about that, but then I had a feeling that that wasn't true, because I was really enjoying living on my own. So the Holy Spirit was working with me to see through that one. So this is lesson 76, paragraph 3. So this particular lesson and that particular line about you really think you would starve, I just kept saying to him, show me how I wouldn't starve if I didn't have any paper strips or metal discs. And what happened was I was guided to leave my job, and then I was guided not to work for a while. It's funny because there's a few things that happen, but I'm just trying to get them in order. And then I was noticing, I think I had about $20 in the bank. And I was saying the guidance was not to ask anyone for any money. I had to learn this lesson. I think I've shared this a few times, so it's not new to a lot of people that are listening. So I was fearful but trusting, fearful but trusting. So this is how I want you to be. Fear. You don't have to try to get rid of the fear. Just notice it and trust. So I would say, okay, I've got a little bit of food left in my cupboard. I've got some frozen soups in the freezer. Um, and then what happened was my son came around with a big box of fruit and vegetables and put it on my kitchen counter. Just came in. I didn't even know that. I mean, I hadn't said anything to anyone, but he knew that I didn't have a job. So when he walked in, I suddenly realised that food could come from. It didn't come from me having money. Someone gave me food, and then so I ate that food, and then my niece came to stay, and it was my brother's daughter. And when she came in, she had a little gift card from the supermarket, and um, I just wept because that didn't come from me earning money. And this was me really learning to trust. So I think I've told this story. So when I went to the supermarket with I think it was $100 or $200 gift card, his daughter came with me and she bought all these expensive shampoos and conditioners and makeup and all this kind of stuff and put it in the trolley. And then when we got to the cashier, she said, "Oh, just use your gift card." And I was horrified because I had kind of just bought a few little things. I wanted to make the gift card last me about a month. And she just spent it, just the whole $200 went. And as I'm watching at the cashier and she's putting it through, and I'm like, well, there's all my money gone. I heard the Holy Spirit saying to me, you were idolizing the gift card. You were then saying that that was your salvation. And you have to learn to trust that no matter what happens, even if she spends all the money on the gift card, that something else will come in. So the lesson was for me to whatever came in, to not to hoard it, to not to say like, this gift card, like, oh, I've got to make that last. It's to buy what I need and then allow the food or whatever else was to come in. So that was my lesson. So we went home. She stayed a couple of days. And then when I dropped her off at the train station, she got into her wallet and she pulled out, I don't know, $100, $150 and gave it to me. And she said, here's the money that I spent on all the goods, which I didn't expect, right? And then the Holy Spirit's in my mind, saying, see, you don't know. You just don't know what's coming in. So I started to learn to trust through that. Through trusting, you learn to trust. So some of you might have already had these experiences and be learning to trust. And you just have to identify where you're not trusting, where, as he says in lesson 47, you're relying on yourself. So as he says in this lesson, that if you think you don't have any metal discs or paper strips, or you might even say numbers on a banking app, if they're all zero or very low on your banking app, can you trust? Can you really trust that something's going to come in to help you in that moment, in whatever you need, and just keep trusting? And this was for me very quickly trusting. So everything is lessons God would have us learn, and these are the lessons. So there was no annoyance at my niece spending up on the card, because everything is a lesson. So if I look at everything as a lesson, so when I'm trying to say I need to get a job, and he was guiding me, you have to learn this. So there's no work, no job. And that was tough. And so we have to learn to trust. That's part of our journey. So Shannon, would you like to share anything that's coming through, or anything how Jesus helped you with this lesson of trusting, where, with housing or money, things like that?
Sure, Kate. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I have headphones on today. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I remember you shared that with me before, and it's just such a beautiful message in trust. Um, yeah, for me, it was really the same thing, just different topic. I think for everyone, it's the same thing. Just maybe it might look a little different with the people who come in and do it. But really, the idea is always it's always about the body and concern about the body and trying to take care of the body, and which is why he says in the I am not a body, I am free lesson, which I forget which number that is. He he says this, use this one in all of the others. To use this as a part of your repertoire, no matter what. Always bring that back in, because everything, if you really pay attention, you notice it's always about the body. It's like, oh, I might be homeless. Oh, I might starve. Oh, I somebody else is saying this about me. It doesn't matter. Like, it could be something trivial or something that we perceive as, like, gloom and doom, but it's really all the same. It's always about the body. And so that's like the first error, right? Is to, like, kind of associate with the body and then have to take care of it. And so with trusting him really is about just letting go of all ideas, all beliefs. I'm not this body. And for me, like, the thing that really helped me to step into that idea and to just fully trust him, because really we're learning that we're one, and we're one with him, and we're one with God. And so when there's one, there's not two. And so for me, it was, he just kept having me refer to myself as an idea. I'm an idea, the idea of Shannon. And the more I referred to myself as that in my mind, I wasn't going around introducing myself to other people saying, "Hi, I'm the idea of Shannon." But in my mind, I was constantly reminding myself that I'm an idea. And with that came the deepening of trust for me. So yeah, I mean, the specifics about around money, I think, I don't know, I always trusted about money. I never really had that as like a thing that I would worry about, because it just, whatever I needed showed up. And I think the key there is to not place some kind of demand on what I need, because, oh, okay, well, I might not be able to pay my mortgage. Well, maybe that house isn't for me anymore. And I can trust that whatever happens, if I can't pay my mortgage and I can't live there anymore, there'll be somewhere better for me to live. And I can trust in that instead of being fearful of losing my house. And so that's kind of like where I think for me, that was just like Kate with the pellets. I think the pellets in the vein, the needle on the vein was kind of more a bigger forgiveness lesson for me. And we all have the things that are easier and the things that aren't. So yeah, that's all I'm feeling to share, Kate. Thanks.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, that's great messages about just trusting. And what happened for me was, after I had that experience of trusting, um, it developed trust. It developed a deep trust, because I'd already had a strong connection to the Holy Spirit who was guiding me. And I did want to undo all fear, and it's very easy to, it's you can say I'm not a body, I'm spirit, I'm free, but that comes alongside with trusting that we can't deny the body. So you're trying to learn not to deny the body, but not to make the body too special. So it's kind of like you're a bit clunky as you go along trying to do this work. Um, and so the way I look at it now is I look at my body as a tool, a vehicle for the Holy Spirit to speak through. And I get guidance around what to eat. And it's pretty much what I've eaten all my life, really. So he's guided me not to, if I have any thoughts about me being a body, to turn my attention away from them and say I'm spirit. So, it's really just to notice when you're focusing on your body, especially about the laws of nutrition, because I could have been a dietitian before I really started the course. I knew all about food and what was in it and whatever, but there was always a part of my mind saying that maybe I was wrong. Well, anyway, so also what happened around that time when my niece left, I was guided to ring up the bank that I had my mortgage with, and they gave me 6 months of no mortgage payments, and the interest would just add on to the total at the end. Then I rang up the gas and electricity and other companies, and they all gave me a period of not having to pay my bills. And then there was just so many little things that I was guided to call up, and I saw all this help come in. And so even though it's worldly, what it is, it's helping you trust that what you need and where you need to be, you need to trust by not relying on yourself. So I wasn't saying, I've got all these bills, I've got to get a job. I was starting to let go of that idea that I had to earn the money and that I had to make it happen. I think that's what Shannon was said, not to make a demand or not to think that it relied on me, that I had to come up with the plan to make this work. So this little lesson is always working about trusting and then bringing it back and knowing myself as spirit. So if you do get any body concerns about your body, really work with the Holy Spirit around it. And it's always about, I remember Shannon saying about, I am not a body, I am free, for I am as God created me, or I am still as God created me. So there's so many of those lessons in the course. And he guided me that I am not a body is the key to the whole course, right? He just said, if you can know yourself as not a body, you've got it, because you're going to know yourself as spirit, as part of God. So we really need to undo this idea of body identification and be able to work with looking after the body, doing what we need to do for it, but not associating ourselves as it. And so that does take a bit of getting used to. So for everyone here, you've probably got the same things as we all go through this, is looking after it, but not idolizing it or making it into a big worry. And if you need to take medicine, take it. But work on your forgiveness, which is just reminding ourselves there is no world. I am still with God. I'm a dream character in a dream. So bring the metaphysics back to the particular issue. The metaphysics is always the answer to whatever's going on. So I'm not a body, I'm spirit, I'm with God. This world was over long ago. I've never been here. There's not one instant I've been here in a body. But alongside that, look after the body and just make it simple. So simplify it. So let's go on to lesson 194. I place the future in the hands of God. So this is the real key to concern about money and survival of the body, because in the moment when you're concerned, so say when I was concerned about how I was going to get money to buy food in that instance where I'd left my job and I was running out of money, I was placing the future in the hands of God. That was the only thing I could do, right? Because I was guided to learn this lesson, and we do need to learn it. And another time he showed me that, I was out on a walk and there was all these blackberry bushes and he said, you could have lunch here. He was showing me where I didn't need, numbers on a Westpac app. That's our bank here. Numbers on a banking app or metal discs or paper strips, that I could have the food that I need, that I think I need as a body, because I haven't got to the stage yet that where I can keep the body going without any food. And he's guided me not to look into that. He just said that don't go there, because I've asked about it. He said, no, that's not where I want you to be. He said, because I want you to be eating with people. I want you to go out and, talk with people and have coffees and teas and food. So it's not the purpose, but maybe there'll be another lifetime where I'd love to do that. I'd love to be able to just purely be in that spirit where you just didn't need to eat. So I place the future in the hands of God. So, hang on. Before that, we were going to write out the things that concern us now. So in your journal, just write out the concerns and worries you have about food, your body, even the one about being lonely and friends, thinking you need another body around or you're lonely, nutrition. Just be really open and honest about it. Because the Holy Spirit wants you to come to him with honesty. The way I worked with the Holy Spirit is I would just say things like, oh, I think I need to have a walk each day to keep my body fit, or it's going to, fall apart or something like that. So you just bring everything to him in the way you think it, the way you express it. Of course, it's an ego belief, because there is no you and there is no body. But while where you are is you're believing you're a body and associating yourself as a body. So what he does is he works with us to undo that by us bringing him all our concerns. He does say, search your mind. And this is between you and the Holy Spirit. You don't need to tell anyone else about it. Shannon, do you think you could read with me a couple of paragraphs from lesson 194?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So just wait for everyone to finish off.
Okay.
So when you finish writing, if you just look at the screen, so just a reminder that this week, this is going to be what we're going to focus on, right? I place the future in the hands of God. You're going to put this as like in neon lights in your mind and use it all week. So as we go through this and do the meditation on it, this group is coming together to do these workshops, to do them as a weekly thing, not just in the workshop and then go. So we're grabbing a particular theme, which is worry and concern about future money and body survival, medicines and all the different things, whatever it be, food, money. And so this is going to be what you'll be focusing on in the morning, throughout the day, and then a review in the evening for the next 7 days. So just remind yourself that this is something you're going to really activate. And remember, we've talked each week about the willingness. So get that willingness, get that commitment happening, right? Because it's very easy towards the end of the week, forget. You might be like the next day and the next day, and then you notice, because it always does, right? It peters off. But I want you to have the same, if you can have the Sunday before the workshop, if you can feel the same commitment and willingness to do this as you did right now, that's what we're going for. We're going for to be completely committed to applying this and see how it works when you do it. So Shannon, would you like to start with paragraph 2 of lesson 194? Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, this lesson was so impactful to me as well. And I was always looking, for me, I was always looking for when can I rest, because I was always busy. And so I would look to the future, and if I didn't see a time when I could rest, then it would stress me out even more. So Jesus really had me working through that a lot with him. And it was this lesson that helped me to completely wipe that whole painful, little habit I had, really. Okay, so paragraph 2, accept today's idea, and you have passed all anxiety, all pits of hell, all blackness of depression, thoughts of sin, and devastation brought about by guilt. Accept today's idea, and you have released the world from all imprisonment by loosening the heavy chains that lock the door to freedom on it. You are saved, And your salvation thus becomes the gift you give the world because you have received. That's just so perfect because with the anxiety and worry, it's always about the future. If you stop and say, well, am I starving now? Am I, am I on the street living in, living in the gutter now? The answer is always no, like right here, right now. It's always some projection of a fearful story, really, is what worry is. So, yeah, placing the future in the hands of God and just trusting that He'll take care of it. He'll take care of everything. He does. I mean, how can He not? Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, it's I just really want to bring home this very clear idea that if we accept today's idea that I place the future in the hands of God, then we are going to pass by all anxiety, all pits of hell, of blackness, of depression, thoughts of sin and devastation, all worry, all concern, if we do this. So this is a key thing that we have to do and get used to doing. That's why the focus is for this week, to really apply it really well for the next week. In no one instant is depression felt, or pain experienced, or loss perceived. In no one instant sorrow can sit upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. In no one instant can one even die. And so each instant given unto God in passing, with the next one given him already, is a time of your release from sadness, pain, and even death. So that's beautiful. So it's like, and so each instant given unto God in passing, so you saying, I place the future in the hands of God. God, here's the future. I'm giving it to you. And with the next one given him, in other words, 5 minutes later, oh, got another fear thought about the future. God, I give you this fear. I release it. I'm trusting. I place the future in your hands. So this is the actual practice of it, is to consciously watch your mind throughout the week. When you get worries or concerns, and just say, whoops, I place the future in your hands. I'm releasing, I'm trusting. And so you're really practicing this all day long, and set your intention in the morning. And then at night time, just do a little write in your journal about how it was, and write about things that you were concerned about and how things might have got resolved without you even knowing. And I think what happens is when we do trust and we see how things work out, we can really validate. And so when we get into, say, a bit, a month or two down the track, and something comes in that's like, oh, I didn't see that happen, you can remember to trust, and you can remember that when you trusted, things worked out. So after that experience with trusting that I mentioned, the trusting came really easily after that. It was really, it wasn't finally done. I had another thing that I had to go through with trust, but it was really changed for me. So Shannon, do you want to read paragraph 4? Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Kate. God holds your future as He holds your past and present. They are one to Him, and so they should be one to you. Yet in this world, the temporal progression still seems real. And so you are not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. You are but asked to let the future go and place it in God's hands. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and present in His hands as well. Because the past will punish you no more, and future dread will now be meaningless. Yeah, as you were talking earlier, Kate, I was just thinking about how uplifting it is when you place the future in his hands and then everything works out. And you look around and you think, oh, wow, I was so tempted to be fearful. And look at this. I couldn't have even imagined how perfect, this could play out. And that's where the trust really deepens. At least that was how it was for me, where I would trust him, and I might have a little bit of fear, and I would just keep saying, I place the future in the hands of God. God, you can have my future. And then next thing you know, I'm looking around and everything is changed, but I could have never made this whole thing up. Like it was so much better than anything I could have ever thought of. And so that's the beauty of this lesson. And he can really put things together for us in a way that we could never even imagine.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Shannon. I'm the same. I just see how everything works out and just trusting every day in every moment. And there was some little bit about time there, future and past. And we're going to do a workshop centering on the past. It's not sure when that's going to be, but that's going to be a really good one to really see that there is no past. So I'm just going to skip to paragraph 6. If you can see the lesson for today as the deliverance it really is, you would not hesitate to give as much consistent effort as you can to make it be a part of you. So that's what I really want you to do. I want you to make a consistent effort to apply this. As it becomes a thought that rules your mind, a habit in your problem-solving repertoire. So remember, I always talk about having like a tool belt with the different tools. This is a habit in your problem-solving repertoire. So anything that comes up, you can remember, right, I'm going to place it in the hands of God. A way of quick reaction to temptation. That's what Shannon was saying. Anytime she was tempted by the ego to like go, oh, I'm going to fear about this. So, no, I place the future in the hands of God. I'm going to turn away from that thought, that ego fear, and I'm going to place the future in the hands of God. If you do these things, you extend your learning to the world. And as you learn to see salvation in all things, so will the world perceive that it is saved. So when it says we extend our learning to the world, what we do is we help others. So Shannon and I are just sharing what we've done. And even if you're around others that aren't in spiritual groups, and someone might say, aren't you worried about, I was asked something about from my daughter who's staying with me. I was asked the other day if I was worried about the work we're going to do on our house. And I said, no, what's there to worry about? I don't have any worries. And she's like, oh, okay, because she was kind of naming off all these things. This is going to happen in the world and all these future things. And I said, I talked to her about trust. And I said, I've asked the Holy Spirit. She knows I talk to the Holy Spirit. I said, I've talked to the Holy Spirit and it's to go ahead with it. I trust. So I don't, in each moment. I mean, it's not like I trusted back a few years ago. I'm trusting in every moment. So this is about just placing the future in the hands of God. But I don't actually have to say that too much these days, because it's what happens is when you use this, you just, I just naturally trust. And if I do get a fear thought, I just say, no, I trust, and it's gone. So this is the way that when you start to use this and apply it throughout the week, it's going to be part of your problem solving repertoire. It's going to be something that just comes in immediately and you get a fear thought. No. So say you lose your job. and you feel like, what am I going to do? Or, something happens, the interest rates go down, you get less money on, get less interest, or your mortgage interest goes up. You're like, "Well, how am I going to afford this?" You trust. It doesn't matter how it comes in, you just simply trust. Um, so we might, if Shannon, if you read number 7, I'll do the meditation at number 8.
Okay, thanks, Kate. I do just want to say too, though, that, I mean, there were two different times where I lost my job. Two times where they closed our office or there were layoffs in the company that I was working for while I was studying the course. And I remember asking for guidance on that about like, because I wasn't fearful. I just like I was just always trusting around money, but I was seeing everyone else scrambling, trying to like figure out how they were going to find another job quickly. And so I was actually just guided to like reach out to people and just bring peace to them in that stressful situation. Um, for them. And so I just remember I just kicked back. I had a severance for 6 months and I was guided to just take that time to deepen everything and it was beautiful. It was a gift. So the thing is if I would have judged that as like it shouldn't be happening and what am I going to do and the future is fearful because I don't have a job, I wouldn't have opened myself up to that deepening, that beautiful experience of peace that I was able to have at that time. So that's just how he's saying that we can block things. Okay, so paragraph 7. What worry can beset the one who gives his future to the loving hands of God? What can he suffer? What can cause him pain or bring experience of loss to him? What can he fear? And what can he regard except with love? For he who has escaped all fear of future pain has found his way to present peace and certainty of care the world can never threaten. He is sure that this perception may be faulty, but will never lack correction. He is free to choose again when he has been deceived, to change his mind when he has made mistakes. I love that because there's always the freedom of choice in every moment we can choose again. It's not like oh, later in the future, I'll choose again. Actually, no, I'll place the future in the hands of God and I'll choose present peace now. Thanks, Kate.
Yeah. For he who has escaped all fear of future pain, because remember, this is all about future suffering, right? Being starving, being homeless, being cold. The ego, these are the big ego guns that comes out, right? The ego gets vicious and it says you'll be homeless, you'll be starving. This is what it did to me. It brought out the big guns and it said, if you go down this track of trusting, you can't know like what's going to happen. So the ego wants to go back to the past and wants to try to get something for the body. But Jesus is taking us out of this world. He's taking us. What he's not doing, and I want to be really clear about this lesson, he's not trying to get us to trust him so we can get all our needs met. He will meet the needs, but they won't be how the ego sets it up. So that's why this development of trust, we have to put the future in the hands of God and not know, and really come to this works in with I am spirit. He's asking us to really use these trusting in the future. to work conjunctively with I am not a body, I am spirit. So really letting go and trusting and letting him show us through this trust that everything that the body needs will come in. We can't set it up by saying, okay, I'm going to trust because then, you know, I'll get, I'll get this, whatever. You can't set the parameters for it. You have to work with, or whatever my simple needs are, they will be met. So the simple needs of the body are a little bit like somewhere to lie down to sleep, a little bit of food here and there. And also, I've shared that he showed me, because I was worried about being homeless, he said, you can sleep in your car. And also he showed me all the bedrooms of all my friends that I could stay in. But those ideas about sleeping in a car or sleeping at friends' places are all blocked when you're in fear. So when you're in fear, you can't see all the other things that are available, that are simply available for you. They're blocked off because the fear blocks any other answer coming in. So when we place the future in the hands of God and we just say, okay, I might be losing my job or losing my house, I'm just going to trust. And that was when I did end up selling the place I was living in. And I went and lived with my mum for, I think, about 18 months. And I didn't know how long I was going to stay because I was just trusting in the future. And then I was guided to, back, because I'd sold all my furniture, I've got rid of most of my stuff by then, and was just trusting. In Australia, we very rarely have, when you rent a property, it's very rarely furnished. I know in some countries that's quite normal, but over here it's not. Everything's empty. And it just happened that I got a house that was fully furnished. It had been like an Airbnb, and they started to rent it out, and they rented it with everything in it. And I just saw how everything worked together. Like if I had have been trying to work that myself, I would have been like, oh yeah, I've got to get furniture and how am I going to afford that? Because I would have been thinking that generally you get a place unfurnished, and it's very unusual to have a furnished property. And what happened? Because I trusted, I got a place that was furnished and it was a reasonable price. So I didn't have any expectation of what I was going to get or how I was going to get it. It's literally coming to see that you have to develop a trust in the moment. You can only trust now, right? So the now, it's always now. And the ego fear thoughts can come in and say, oh, this, we don't know what is going to happen here, because the ego will always use the past. So what we're doing is we're going into trusting that we might see something or have something happen that we could never think from the past. And so that's where it comes from. And that is, you need to develop this trust of placing a future in the hands of God and use it all the time for the rest of your lives here. And even in awakening, it's natural. That's a natural thing. It's just part of, because you are spirit, you are part of God, you have that all-encompassing love, you're living in it. And so we are going to do this practice, and it's going to bring us peace. Isn't it beautiful how he shares here about how peaceful it's going to be? He really reassures you when you read this lesson, doesn't it? And even the little bit that we read over on 76 about, you really think you've got to have all this money that you would starve. So we're like, okay, let me see how this works. Let's see how this works. Maybe I can just fully trust. I don't have to worry about what my bank account says. I can just trust. So, for he who has escaped all fear of future pain has found his way to present peace and certainty of care the world can never threaten. Because one, you're trusting that everything the body, needs will be taken care of. And two, you're associating more and more as spirit. So those two work together, hand in hand, right? So the needs of the body become less as you're associating with yourself as spirit. The needs of the body come less. So when you place the future in the hands of God, there's just these simple things that come in. The little needs of the body are taken care of, because he doesn't want you to be spending all this time searching for stuff in the world. Okay, so let's do a little meditation on this. So,
Kate, Kate, before you start the meditation, I'm just guided to share one other thing about money.
yeah,
Um, there's just one other aspect to look at too this week if you are looking at worrying around money, and that is that even feeling responsible for someone else and caring for someone else and being responsible. For me, it was my son. I was raising him by myself. And so that did come in that I was responsible for him. I was, and I had to provide for him. And actually, what I found was that that isn't even true. God is responsible for him. And so I was able to even give that to him as a way. So just remember that, like, even if you feel responsible for someone else, like they're counting on you to make money, or like, they're relying on you. My son was young at the time. It's not like, just even give that to him, because like, look, the ego is going to come in and it's going to tell you, oh yeah, they might have it easier. They have it easier than you. Or, oh, you can't do what they're saying because, and then fill in the blank. It'll come in and it'll try to tempt you to believe that it's too hard for you to do what this lesson is asking you to do. But it's not. It's not. Like, I lost my job and I had a son to support and I had a mortgage to pay and I had, so Kate, look at all of the stories she just told. So like, don't listen to the ego when it tries to come in and tell you that you're responsible for somebody, or this isn't going to work for you because other people have it easier than you. It's none of that's true. And believe me, I had to be shown that too. So just ask him to show you. All right, that's all. Thanks, Kate.
yeah, that's wonderful. Little hearts. So what I want you to do now, I just want you to look over what you've written down before about all the concerns and worries about the future. And I want you to close your eyes and just hold all those ideas in your mind. And I want you to see yourself putting them in a bag, all the worries, all the concerns. Just put them in a big bag. And then I want you to see these big hands, God's hands coming out, like really big, beautiful hands. I want you to imagine him saying, "Give them to me. I'll show you the way. Just give them to me." And then I want you to place the bag of worries into his hands and say, "I place the future in the hands of God. I place all these worries and concerns in your hands, God." Really feel yourself releasing them. and remind yourself that you really don't know how any problem's going to be solved from lesson 47 last week. We really don't know how anything can get worked out for the good of everyone. So we let go, Bruce. We stop planning and trying to come up with ideas for ourselves. And we release it. We let the bag go, and we see the hands moving away with all those worries and concerns. And we trust, stay in the present trust. Say, God, you have all these. I'm going to develop trust by giving you these and noticing how everything works together for good, how things that I'm worried about get solved in ways that I can't see. And I'm going to really feel myself as spirit. I'm going to let go more and more of this body stuff, of thinking that I'm a body, bodily concerns, bodily identification. So what I'd like you to do just for the next few minutes in silence, just repeat, I place the future in the hands of God. I am spirit. I am free. I am still as God created me. Just repeat those 4 lines to yourself for the next 5 minutes. Okay. That was really beautiful. And I was guided to turn my video off and go and get something. And then I realized when I turned my video off that the hands of God come up. So I know everyone had their eyes closed, but that's what'll be on the recording. So I didn't even realize that. And then as soon as I saw it, it was like, okay. So even that, you just never know how anything's going to come in and be used, because there is part of our mind that knows how something's meant to be solved, how something's meant to work out. And by you developing that trust, by trusting, you have to trust first, right? You can't develop trust by not trusting. It comes first. So we have to trust. And that's when this beautiful joy comes through. We see how we are cared for. So release everything to Him, give them over to the hands of God, and do this throughout the week. And I think Irena is doing a little group. She's got it on the Zoom to Miracles group, a sharing group for the group here to attend, just to share anything that you're experiencing, how things are going for you. You're also welcome to write about it on the Zoom to Miracles Facebook group if you like. You don't have to. It's really your inner work, but sometimes you'll be guided to share something. So let's finish off here. We've got the tools. We've got this. This is going to be a habit in our problem-solving repertoire. So I place the future in the hands of God. I am not a body. I am free. I am spirit. I am as God created me. We're going to be using those two together this week. We really have to bring in that the little things that this body identification needs is simple, and those things will be taken care of. And to trust, to keep trusting. And remember that part of the trusting that we've been working on is to listen, to get closer to hearing. So spend some time in quietness to hear the Holy Spirit, to hear the little things that are coming through to help you. So Shannon, did you want to say anything before we leave?
I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes on the Zoom to Miracles group. Hopefully you'll have some fun things to fill us in about this week. Thanks, Kate, so much for everything.
Thanks, Shannon. So yeah, we're both very grateful that you're coming to these groups, and we might have a little sharing next week in the group. It should be nice if you feel you want to share something from any of the workshops. It's been helpful, but remember that his guidance this was about stepping up the willingness, the commitment, and the dedication to practice. That's what this is all about. So I'm hoping that you're remembering more to do what the weekly theme, the weekly work to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I bless you. I honor you. You are beautiful. You are holy. You are the Christ. I'm getting tears now because there's so much love. You are beautiful. You're perfect. You're whole. You're complete. You're that beautiful Christ self. And you've never been anything else. And isn't that lovely to know? So we're one. We're one in this beautiful Christ love. Thank you to Shannon, and thank you to everyone for being here. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye-bye.